This is Musings and Counsel from London Baker Law with Debbie London Baker.
Debbie, the first thing we've noticed since we've gone to TV is every week we've got new listeners. And just tell people about your practice and yourself.
Okay. Um, well, I'm holding my round two. Did I have this last month, Steve? My round two? I don't remember. Anyway, I guess, let's see. I went to law school between 2011 and 2015. And so to say, I wasn't 22 years old when I went. And I guess it was one of those round two-its. I finally got around to it after having thought about it several times. So I've been an executive coach my whole life. I've been telling people how to lead their lives since I was 5. I don't know anybody who knew me when I was 5 who could confirm that, but I would venture to guess that was the case.
You were a smart kid.
I love coaching, and God had a different plan for me 50 years after I graduated from high school. So he said, go to law school, and I went. And I loved every single second of it. Well, we don't have time for it. But I didn't love all my courses, but that was because of me, not because of the professors. And I decided on estate planning and probate and this kind of thing because I love to be of service. That was everything that my coaching practice was about. As I tell people, Steve, you could have hired me to work with yourself while you were choosing, do you keep doing this or you do something else or whatever, or you could have called and said, Deb, I have a team of 20 and we're not communicating. Can you help me? So the one about helping you decide to stay or not would be a lunch somewhere or coffee or who knows what, if it was a one-time conversation. And the other would be a consulting contract. Didn't matter as long as I could be of service. So estate planning is just a great way to be of service. Like you said, people should do it. They don't get around to it. They think they're going to do it. It gets to the bottom of the pile. And then oftentimes what happens is a tragedy happens in their family or a friend's family. And they say, oh my gosh.
Yes.
This will not happen to me. And I've got a couple of clients like that right now. It's like, oh my gosh, this will not happen to me. So it's a great way to be of service. There was a lot of coaching involved. I'm looking at bringing elder law into my practice because it seemed I'm beginning to understand really how important that is. It's asset protection, Medicaid planning, but right now estate planning, probate, wills, trusts, that kind of thing keeps me busy.
It's ever since you've joined our show, I think about, you hear some of these young people passing away, and some of them were, athletes, professional football players, and we never know what God has in store for us. And planning is so important. I love what you do. You are a people person. You are an educator. I love what you do. And that's what this show is about. You will be teaching people probably many things they didn't even know about. And one of the first things we're going to talk about today is the story of the green box. I cannot wait to hear this.
Steve, how believe it or not, things happen and the timing is like perfect. And I hadn't had that expression actually until last Friday, I think, Thursday or Friday, when I was speaking to a woman I just met. And she was trying to figure out what I did so she could tell other people. And she said, you help people fill their green box. And I went, okay, what's a green box? And she had told me she'd been somewhere and she heard a speaker talk about being ready when you pass so that your family just has to open a box and follow directions. So I do help people build their green box. And it's the idea that when you get hurt or incapacitated, or when you die, the last thing anybody in your family wants to do is start digging for information, having to find information, whatever that may, define that however you will. And what this woman said her grandfather did was he found a green box. I haven't found mine yet. I have to find the perfect size. But in it, you would put and update it every year, which I thought was really brilliant. So you would find something that held your estate documents, your will, your trust if you had one, life insurance policies, information about your financial investor, who to call, so that you collect your beneficiary designations from whomever has named you as a, where you've been named as a beneficiary. But also and there's other things, but those would be like the main things. The other things you would have in that green box would be your healthcare surrogate, if so somebody knew, and your living will, so somebody knew if you got incapacitated, you were ill, and your power of attorney, so somebody would know if for some reason you hadn't informed somebody that they held these positions. So any essential document to move your family more peacefully, I'm not sure that's the right word, but more calmly through a process that's hard at any time, would be a gift beyond measure. And this woman was telling me that her grandfather did it, her father did it, and he updates it every year. So the idea of updating every year is, let's just say you and Sophia had investments in XYZ stock, let's just say, but you liquidated that and invested in ABC stock. You needed to get your XYZ stock information out of your green box, so that if somebody found it, they were now only calling somebody about your ABC stock. Anything like that. You weren't taking required minimum distributions last year, 2 years ago, but you did last year. Well, that information needs to go in the box. And I can appreciate how that would be invisible to the person who was doing it, because you just did it and you got the money and you didn't think about it. But if somebody in your family needs to know, they need to know. And for me, I just put together I'm going to make it a green box, but I just put together a file for my husband, being the shoemaker with holes in their shoes, where he now has the phone numbers of who to call if something happens to me, like if I pass, and he's got the bank accounts and he's got this and that, and he's put in a folder. Now, he may not be able to find it when he needs it, but that's about him, not about the church. So
that was my next question. How do people know where that green box is?
You have to tell them. It has to be in a reasonably conspicuous place, whether that's a lockbox or a home safe or even just a file folder that's a different color somewhere that's labeled, green box, or Deb's essential information or something like that, which I labeled mine, so that somebody can come in and find it. But the idea that when I spoke to this woman last week was, oh my gosh, this has to be part of my conversation with Steve, because until actually I pulled everything together over the last couple of weeks for my husband, he would, in fairness to him, it would have been nothing about him that he couldn't find it. He really, because it was scattered all over. Instead of being in one place with last year's statements from all these different places, each one of them had their own file. He wouldn't have known. And that's not about him. That's about, I don't know where to look. I don't know where to look. So I'm going to do one for me, and he's got one for him, but I'm going to see about how do I create a green box, and I will be introducing it every time I speak from now on, that idea of the green box.
Debbie, I got to tell you, that is the greatest idea. We're in 8 other cities. We have other estate planning attorneys as our experts. You were the first person to bring that out. Because I'm sitting here imagining, if someone passes, especially if people didn't know that they would be passing away sooner than later,
right?
That there's a green box there,
yep.
And everything is there. That is such a great idea.
Well, I'm gonna thank the person who gave me the idea, and then I'm gonna have to tell her to thank the person who gave her the idea. And yeah, it's a wonderful idea, and I guess part of what I liked about it is it was the instant image of a green box. She could have said, it was the idea of something physical. So she could have said a red box, but it was the idea of something. So now all I need to do is find a box that's like 8.5 that holds an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Doesn't have to be deep, like a shirt gift box or something, just with that specific label. So yeah, thank you.
This has been Musings and Counsel from London Baker Law. Learn more at londonbakerlaw.com. Thanks for listening.